Hey, everybody out there. Happy Sunday night to all of you here from Unlock the Middle. My name is Dean Packard. I am the principal of Charlton Middle School in Charlton, Massachusetts. And Sunday night is all about getting a little bit better together. And listen, that's why we do what we do, Josh. All you guys out there, just remember they were streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, all those things. Please make sure you share out with what we talk about tonight because it makes us all just a little bit better. We're definitely not going to disappoint you tonight. Josh Tovar, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm over here, Josh Tobar, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA, as Dean likes to call us, our independent nation of the state of Texas. We're here. You know what? We already started off our vacation time. I know that a lot of you are still out there putting in the grind. So, saludos, greetings to everybody out there. You know what? We're showing those blessings for you guys. Make sure that you finish these last 2 or 3 days on a up note, because you know what? Tonight is one of those days where we might not view it, but we'll do it on the rebroadcast and we learn from each other. We learn from each other and we have a great, awesome guest today. You know, he's part of the previous show with the Fantastic Four with Jefe, Principal Cafele. And he's going to join and talk to us about those connections that we need with our kids. And you know what? Those are the things that are an ongoing theme of Unlock the Middle, because it's about connecting with kids. So stay tuned. And as Dean always says, you know what? Please make sure that you sharpen up those tools, share with other people, like it, but most importantly, give us your feedback. We need to know, because it doesn't matter where you're at. It does not matter where you're at, whether you're in Alaska, whether you're in Hawaii, whether you're in Maine, whether you're in Florida, all in the middle. We're all in the same business, public education, the field that creates all the other professions. So join us today with our awesome guest.
I love you talk about the field that creates all other professions because we do. We mold kids. We create critical thinkers. We create problem solvers. That's what education is all about. And the people we bring on these shows are the people who are, we call them the ripple effect individuals that just make the world of education a little bit better. So without any further ado, let me bring in our guest tonight, Josh. Vincent Taylor from Florida, from Jacksonville, Florida. It's great to have you on, Vincent. Welcome to Unlock the Middle.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here, Dean. Glad to be here, Josh. Thank you all for inviting me on your platform. Can't wait to share and just see all the great things that you all have to share with me as well.
Well, let's take it right here. Let's dig in a little bit. Why don't you tell everybody about yourself, Vincent, kind of your rise to power where you are now and how you become that influencer. I love that word influencer because influencers make a difference in education. So talk a little bit about yourself and don't be too humble. Let it fly, brother.
Okay. Well, this journey started 27 years ago, 26 years ago, 1997, when I stepped in room 14. My life changed. And before I tell you how it started, before I start you in room 14, let me tell you exactly how it happened. I was at my junior college and I talked to my professor and he told me to talk to the guidance counselor because I had an interest in being a guidance counselor. So I talked to the counselor and he said, you want to be a guidance counselor? I said, yeah, I want your job because you're the counselor at my college. I want your job. He said, you want my job? He said, well, the first thing you need to do is become a teacher. So you have that as a prerequisite. So I went to college at the university to become a counselor, only to, be a teacher first. Well, I guess the rest is history because once I started teaching, I fell in love with teaching and learning and I couldn't leave. So I found my place. So for 26 years, I've been in the classroom for 12 years. And the last 15 years, I've been an academic coach. One of the best positions I've ever held, simply because when I started teaching, I'm like, there's no better feeling than this. And to this day, I still say that as a classroom teacher, there's no better role that I've ever been in. Moving on to academic coach it was one of those things where I knew it was time to challenge myself to do more. And in doing that, I found out some things that I wasn't the best teacher that I thought I was. I made a lot of impact in children's lives, but it gave me an opportunity to go from classroom to classroom and witness the greatness of all the other teachers that I was supposed to pour into. So I definitely had to humble myself and be open enough to do, like you all said, it's all about collaboration and learning from one another. I just wanted to not only give my information, but see what I can soak up from each one of the teachers that I was mentoring. So from there, I got that writing bug. So I decided to write. And working in the inner city school where the literacy rate was not where I knew it should be, I wanted to see what I can do to sort of close that achievement gap. There's always talk about boys and their deficiency when it comes to reading. So some of the students would come up to me and say, Mr. Taylor, you told us that we need to read, drop everything and read, but every one of the books in your class deals with either animals or there's a female protagonist on the front. There's no book for us. So when they said that, I was like, hey, I love to write. Let's see what I can do about that. So I started with a book called Cornbread. Cornbread is a protagonist, African-American male, that my students can identify with. I was in the inner city where 97% of my students were African-American. And the data says when students see themselves in text, then it augments that academic achievement. And I'll honestly say that when I started on that journey, I never knew it would be what it is today. My thing was, okay, let me just create a book, something kids would enjoy and they talk about it a little bit. But literally the testimonials that I've received from parents and teachers and principals, it's just overwhelming because it has become more than just a story for students. It is something that has changed their whole attitude towards literacy and reading. Parents would tell me, my child, when they go to sleep, they have their cornbread book, with them. When they go to the grocery store, they have the cornbread book in the back of the car reading it. So, I understand at the administrative level, we definitely want to look at that quantitative data to see how it augments that academic achievement. And it has done that. But for me as an author and as a person who struggled with reading comprehension as a child myself, it brings me so much more satisfaction gratification when I hear parents saying that it really changed their child's life. Because I know my background.
I'm going to ask you a question. And I love what you're saying right now and how you're making those connections with kids. What was your biggest challenge going from being an educator, from a classroom teacher in that regard, to being an academic coach? Because you know what? Districts that have academic coaches, I am enthralled by them. I think that's fantastic. It's a great way to be able to mold your teachers because you're getting a chance to see through the lens of a lot of different classrooms and then bring it back to the table and share out. So tell me what the biggest challenges.
So I think my biggest challenge was, as a classroom teacher, I'm used to doing it myself. Correct. So when I go in to observe, I see what I see. I know what needs to happen. And quickly I'll jump in and say, okay, you need to do this, do that, and do that. Well, that wasn't the way. I needed to model, but I also need to use a gradual release with that particular teacher so that they would be empowered, to do the work. Because it wasn't at that point, it wasn't about Vincent Taylor, the classroom teacher. It was about the teacher I was working with. So it was finding a way to empower them, leading them to the answer so that they can have that self-efficacy and achieving whatever goals that they were trying to achieve for themselves.
That's spoken like a true champion right there, because I'll tell you, you put everybody else's needs in front of your own and acting as a conduit for their growth. Absolutely love that. That's great stuff.
Are you an academic coach for ELAR?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Are you an academic coach for ELAR? For English Language Arts?
Oh, no, which is crazy because of all the writing that I'm doing. Most people think I'm an academic coach for reading, but it's actually mathematics.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Now, there's a story behind that. Say
it real quick. Give me the abridged version.
Okay. So I was first year teacher, came in the middle of the year. I was teaching ELA. The next year, I taught for one whole year as an ELA teacher. Well, we had changes with the administration, and the new principal came in and said, Mr. Taylor, hey, you're doing a great job with reading, but guess what? I have my own person that I'm bringing with me. So I need you to teach math. I was like, okay, what could I say, right? And it probably turned out to be one of the best things that happened for me because I never really had an interest in mathematics. My passion was with reading comprehension. Um, but I use the different strategies in mathematics that I was using in reading comprehension to sort of, help students who were struggling with reading and struggling with math. So it really worked out to my benefit.
Got it. And just one quick thing. Since I'm an emergent bilingual student, also known in different parts of the country as EL, also as ELL. The verbiage keeps on changing. I still have those learning disabilities.
Mm,
When we were at PD for all the principals and they hand out those articles where we're supposed to read them,
mhm.
everyone finishes before me. I still get lost in the text. I still have to make notes on the side. I still have to highlight some stuff, and some people just read it all the way through. So that learning disability does not leave. And it doesn't matter. I have 3 masters, and one of them is in history. And think about all I had to read for a history master's. The problem learning is still there. It does not leave us. We just adapt to our skill level to be successful. So don't forget about that teacher in the classroom, that this is somebody that's been in education for 30 years and I still have reading problems. So all the principals finished their articles before me and they start the timer. You got 10 minutes. I go, hey, lady, this is font one. You expect me to read this real quick? I can't. So you know what? And I'm glad you mentioned about going into the classrooms and having those challenges in regards to um, some team members not feeling warm and fuzzy with what you're saying. So how do you develop teacher enthusiasm to not only take in your um, advice, but also the love for math, the love for reading? How do you encourage that?
Um, I, I mean, think about it like this. Have you ever seen someone talk about a movie and the enthusiasm that they have for the movie was so great, it made you want to go and see it, that actual movie? That's what we have to do as educators. Because contrary to popular belief, some of our students may not be very interested in our standards. You know, they may not be
Really?
excited and elated about our standard focus board. So we have to bring in that excitement, that enthusiasm to make them say, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to jump into this fraction lesson because I see the enthusiasm Mr. Taylor has for it." And I'm sorry, I sort of told the little field once. I told my students that fractions, that's my favorite lesson. Oh, that's my favorite lesson. Now, it wasn't my favorite, but I said it because I knew it was their worst. So I had to change their mindset to make them see, okay, well, what is it so great about fractions? Because we did it last year and I didn't like it. So what is it that Mr. Taylor likes so much about it that he's going to make me love, that particular thing, fractions? So it starts with the teacher. It starts with the teacher. And it's sad because when I stepped out of the classroom and I became a coach, I was mentoring this teacher and I had a chance to talk to her one-on-one. And the things that she was sharing with me, I couldn't stop smiling because she had so much enthusiasm, for what she was teaching. And she just really ate up curriculum, teaching and learning. But what happened was, I think she felt like she had to be a certain way in the classroom. So I'm this teacher and I'm not going to smile with you. I'm not going to get comfortable. So her students never got a chance to see the person I had a chance to talk to each one of those days after school. And I told her, this is a way to really reach your students, to let them see your enthusiasm. And she eventually tried it, but she had a rough start because she felt she had to be a certain way in the classroom with her students. I don't know about you all, but I have a pet peeve. My pet peeve is, what is it? How is it? Don't smile into Christmas. I don't buy into that at all. I smile day one, but my students know me, and they know when Mr. Taylor says it's time to get back focused, it's time to get focused. So we can have fun, we can smile, we can laugh, we can do all of those things, but we can also work when it's time.
That's because you created that connection with kids. And we say it all the time, Josh and I, about relationships before content. If you think about the importance of that. And the other thing, going back to you telling that little white lie that fractions was your favorite, I'll tell you what, make it relevant. Find a way to connect in their world that maybe open the door for them, but then find that passageway for them to make it really connect with their lives. And it's hard. There's no doubt about that. Let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about how you go from a coaching lens to create student empowerment and what that might look like from the coach's view. I mean, we're coaches here too. We're as principals, we're coaches, the way it goes. So talk to me about that.
Well, just empowering teachers in general is a beautiful thing because, we have had an opportunity to see some success. So it's a great thing when you see others get that same gratification for having success in the classroom. And it wasn't about you, it's about what you may have shared to make them successful. But as it pertains to students, I think that's one of the most important things we can do as educators, because when you make a student feel like they're great, they feel like they can do anything. And this is very important for our struggling students. Because think about it, you have your curriculum, you have all the things lined up that they need to be successful, but because they are learning at a different level, they may take 30 minutes to read the article versus 10 minutes like everyone else. You have to find a way to empower that student to believe, I can do it, I can be great. So I find a way to become their academic motivator. We spend more time with our students many times than their own parents. So we can't expect for the parents to do everything. When they are with us, yes, we're teaching the curriculum, but we need to be that academic motivator. Someone who's doing two things. You're giving an empowering phrase along with specific praise. So what I mean is we don't just say, hey, great job. No, it's more like, wow, you are an amazing speller of, these compound words. Make it specific so they really know that you're not just talking. There's some true meaning behind that compliment. And just empowering students in general, it impacts academics. And what I mean by that is I started a mentoring group my first year as a teacher called the Young Gentlemen's Group. And, it's self-explanatory. It's basically teaching all the things that parents are teaching them at their house, how to carry themselves like a young man, being courteous, all of those things. So every week we would wear a shirt and tie. The kids loved it because, everyone would give them so many compliments. Everybody's complimenting them for their shirt and tie, and everyone's, in unison, looking nice. So one student named, we'll call him Morris. Morris' dad called the front office. They get on the intercom and said, Mr. Taylor, Morris's dad want to see you. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, shoot. Why does he want to see me? I said, okay. So I'm talking to Morris. I said, Morris, why your dad want to see me? He said, I don't know. He just said he want to see you. So I'm like, oh gosh, what did I say? What did I do? So the end of the day came. It's like, Mr. Taylor, Morris's dad is here. Can we sit him down? I was like, sure, sit him down. So I'm nervous. I am nervous. He knocks at the door. I opened the door, and this is what he did. I opened the door. He looked at me, walked in, continued to stare at me, and said, so you're Mr. Taylor? I said, yes, sir. Yeah, have a seat. Come on in. He said, I just want to shake your hand. Like, whoa, I just want to shake your hand. because I begged Morris to wear a shirt and tie. He would never do it. But ever since he's been in your young gentlemen's group, he can't wait to Tuesdays where you all wear your shirt and tie. I was like, wow, this thing is powerful. It did more than I anticipated. It did more than I thought it was going to do, and because of that transformation, Morris, who was someone who struggled academically, became one of my top students because of that empowerment from the social group or the mentoring group. So, yeah.
That's a awesome story.
I
I
love
can't.
that.
I think all of us have. I mean, great job. I mean, to me, I'm going to be reflecting on that, and that's one of
Me
the things
too.
that when we get into our kids, that's one of the things that I did something similar in my previous campus. But you know what? That's a great tactic to make sure that you bring a whole community together, not just your campus community, but the whole learning environment. So speaking of that, for the most part, more often than not, we have different diverse background of students in our classrooms. For myself, I have 6 languages at my campus,
Mm,
and so I've got from different parts of the world. More often than not, most of the schools deal with this diversity, and so more often than not, a lot of our team members are not of that background. So
mhm,
how do we support? How do we create staff, administration, everybody? Because it takes a family, toda una familia, the custodian, the cafeteria workers. How do we become more culturally responsive to our audience
mhm.
that's within our body, our campus?
Um, well, as a classroom teacher, you have to look at who's in front of you. You have to look at who's in front of you, regardless of what curriculum that is purchased by your school district. Um, that curriculum only tells you what to teach. It tells you what standards um, that needs to be focused on and how you can teach it, but it doesn't tell you how to be culturally responsive. That happens every year, and it looks different every year simply because of who's in front of you. So that's the first thing, making sure that you uh, pay attention to the students in your classroom. I had students who love like country music. I'm not a huge fan of country music, but because I love music, I appreciate all. But I wanted to show those particular students that, hey, I appreciate what you like as well. So that was a culture. It was about 3 or 4 students who enjoyed that type of music. So I found a way to teach a particular lesson. But before I taught the lesson, I started it, by singing like a country song, tying in the standards to that particular song, and they loved it. They loved it. It was different. It was different for me, but I believe in doing whatever I need to do to make every student in the class feel a part of my class. Now, you were talking about being an ELL student. Um, I've had ELL students in my class, a few times. In this one particular year, this this particular student was sort of reserved, didn't really talk as much, wasn't very social, and I attribute that to the language barrier, still trying to learn the language. So it was bothering me because I saw how much the other kids were really getting into the lessons, but this particular student wasn't. So I said, okay, I know what I need to do. So I'm always trying to offer some type of incentive for the great things students are doing academically. So I said, all right, I have a challenge for you. I have $2. You can answer this question by yourself and get both dollars. I mean, both of the dollars, or you can get a partner and you get one and your partner gets one. I said, well, let me tell you what the question is first. I want to know who can say the days of the week. Everybody raised their hands saying, I know it, I know it, I know it. And they all wanted to do it individually. So I said, okay, well, hold up. Before you decide to take this challenge, there's one more thing that I forgot to tell you. You have to say the days of the week, but you must do it in Spanish. When I said that, every head turned to my ELL student because he was the only one who could count. I'm sorry, who would say the days of the week. all the days of the week. And when that happened, you should have seen the smile on his face. It was at that point that he felt like, I am a part of this class. I do have value in this class. And that's what we have to do as educators. It's going to take some extra effort, but I am willing to not only do it myself, but as a coach, ensure that all the teachers that I work with don't forget that. Because again, it's not written in the curriculum.
Vincent, that was strategic. And I'll tell you what, so strategic that I wish that every teacher out there listening to this puts that in their toolbox, because they recognize the potential growth in somebody prior to actually rolling those questions out. So kudos for making that happen in that capacity.
Thank
You
you.
know, let's circle back again and talk about relationship building and why it's important to ensure that these students know you care about them before the learning actually starts. And Josh Tovar says it best all the time. Children don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that is like a slogan that every educator across the United States of America should actually put up on their board. And I swear to God, put it right next to the learning objective. Because if you do that first and then the learning objective second, guess what's going to happen? Connectivity will take place.
Yeah.
Take it and go.
Yeah. I mean, I share your sentiments. When they know you care, they are working 10 times harder to figure it out. You know, too often kids will just say, I can't do it. And they will tune you out. And unless you have something to draw them back in, and many times you don't, then you're going to lose them forever. But when you have that relationship with the students, they are willing to go the extra mile to figure it out for you. And, you know, I really appreciate that. The other thing it does, though, is it decreases that ill behavior. And if you have that taken care of, now you can teach. So the students who are constantly getting in trouble, they're missing so much of content because you're talking to them, reprimanding them, or you're sending them out of the classroom. They're missing a lot of information. So building that rapport with them gives them an opportunity to, like I said, not only be there, it gives them an opportunity to not miss out on things because of ill behavior.
I'm going to put you under the gun a little bit right here. Three of your best creating relationship strategies that you think would work for new educators out there right now. Just simple. And I'll give you a little wait time. How much do you need? 60 seconds, 30 seconds?
Okay,
I'm teasing you. Just
give me 10 seconds. Give me about 15 seconds.
Boom.
Okay.
In the backcourt count.
Okay. All right, I have one.
Go for it.
I'm ready. All right. So one, very simple. You have 5 days. 5 days a week we're going to school. Take one of those days, eat lunch with your students, have that conversation. You'll be surprised. They won't see Mr. Packer. They won't see Mr. Jaguar, Mr. Josh. They will see a regular person. You know, for the most part, I don't think a lot of our students see us as just a regular person. They see us as teacher only. And when we have an opportunity to sit down with them doing that informal setting, they start to share things. Sometimes they share too much.
Yes, they do.
But that's a great way that I have, built a rapport with my students. Another way is frequent some of their outside activities. Like I would go to some of my students' football games, and oh my gosh, they would love to see Mr. Taylor on the sideline with the helmet on. You can still see the smile. So just attending, their after school activities. One more. I'm
going to throw it in. Ready?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good morning. Call them by their first name and say, welcome to class today. Boom. How about that for an icebreaker from a relationship? Josh Tovar, you throw one in there too. Come on, man. You've been listening. I know you know one. We're gonna save them right here. Oh, the cards. Yes, the cards.
Whoa, what's that?
Connectivity. He writes cards to his kids.
Okay, hold on. These are right here are from our family members, are the adults sending thank you cards to their students in December. And these are the Christmas cards I'm writing to all the students on my campus.
Whoa.
That's hot. That's a lot.
Wow. I take my hat off to you.
So when you don't see
Wow.
Josh at lunch duty, you know what he's doing.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's powerful.
That is powerful. That's great
Wow.
stuff.
I love it.
Thank you for sharing that out. And I love that, Vincent, that you had that perspective. Josh, take it
So,
to the next one.
so you just said earlier that you dug deep inside your inner Dwight Yoakam, your inner Garth Brooks, to connect with the country folk in your classroom. So that means you like incorporating music as part of your teaching strategies, right? All
Yes.
right,
Yes.
talk to us. Talk to
Oh,
us, history teachers, that we will never do that. We have to cover the War of 1812, darn you, and progressives in the Gilded Age.
man. Music touches everyone. Music touches everyone. And because there's a culture of students who love hip hop music, I tend to use hip hop music a lot in my classroom. And the students, again, they love it because that's not something every teacher is doing. So they get an opportunity to see, Mr. Taylor crossing that line of being human enough to tap into what they love. Um, so I talked about cornbread, but my first book dealt with teaching kids reading comprehension skills through hip hop music. So I went to the studio, recording studio 10 years, I'm sorry, in 2001, 21 years ago, and recorded this CD for students that comes with a sing-along book. And it just gets kids excited about different reading strategies like context clues and topic centers and main idea. So I use music with that particular project, but I actually have something else that I'm working on. And this is something I'm really excited about. Um, my professional development book, If Instruction Isn't Engaging, I Quit. I released that 5 years ago. But because there was so much attention on my children's series, Cornbread, I didn't roll it out the way that I normally do. So what I'm doing this time is I'm going back to the drawing board. Dean, I am going back to the drawing board. Josh, I'm about to show people my first passion when it comes to writing. And it's not writing books, it is songwriting. That was the number one thing that allowed me to pick up the pen and fall in love with it. So, in reintroducing the engagement book, I've taken the 10 chapters and I decided on 7 of those chapters. I wanted to create a song that ties into that particular chapter. So, for example, chapter 1 deals with relationship. Great chapter. And I'm not saying it just because I wrote it, but chapter 1 deals with relationship. So, I created a song called They Will Care. And these are songs not for students like we typically see. These are teacher songs. So I have 9 songs that I've created for this project that will come out in January. And that's just one. Another one, chapter 3, we talked about student empowerment. There's a song about this little girl named Tamika. And that song is called You Can Be. And then the third one is teacher enthusiasm. For that song, I have, for that chapter, I have a song called I Am a Teacher. And so excited about it. So excited about the project because it's going to bring attention to all the great things we do as educators and celebrate us as educators.
So let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about if instruction isn't engaging, I quit. You know what? I first of all, kudos. You're a full-time worker. You're doing your job, and then you're writing on the side. You're filling your passions, doing something that you love, and with this book, obviously making connections and making a difference. What's your driving force behind that? I mean, how do you find the time? And more importantly, after you talk about that, talk about where can you find this book? I mean, and this revision, and when will this all be complete? And talk about that for a second.
Okay. The passion came from just the realization that we have to find a way to reach our kids. We have to find a way. I'm not good with excuses at all. And the reality is, if we don't do what we need to do as educators to engage them, they will quit on us. And I'm not talking quitting high school. That's the first thing most people think of. No, I'm talking about that second grader who has tuned you out. They have quit for that day. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different variables that are important in education, but student engagement is at the very top for me. I have to think about it and see some of the other ones. But student engagement is definitely at the top because, if you can't get through that gate to the students, all the other tools and resources that you have are null and void. Let's see. So you said, so that was the motivation behind writing that book. And I did have a lot of success, in my 12 years as a classroom. So I wanted to find a way to share that information and hope that it would help someone else. These are not 10 definitive things about what student engagement should be. It's 10. I'm sure somebody else can add 10 more to that. Someone else can add 15 more to that. But these are the 10 that I implemented, and they were very, very successful. So that was
where can they get that book? Where can they find the book, especially the one you've already written?
So you can on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon. You can also find it on my website, www.vincenttaylor.com. And this is the actual book. If instruction isn't engaging, I quit. So yeah, website and all the videos that I was telling you about, the project, all that can be seen on YouTube, but that will happen in January. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to Vince the Writer on YouTube.
Awesome.
And,
there you have it, Vince the Writer, YouTube. I challenge you out there to subscribe. I want to see those numbers go up.
Thank you.
And also on Twitter, that's his handle also. So follow him
on Twitter. Yep.
For a lot of this awesome knowledge. Hey, great job tonight. We really appreciate everything you brought to the table. I know that there's tons of those 10 engaging and other strategies in that book. And the most importantly, we value your experience. You know what, from going on academic coach, ELAR teacher, math instructor, connected with music, writing this book. I mean, you bring a whole Santa bag of knowledge to everybody. So people need to make sure that they reach out to you and keep on getting that knowledge, because that's what we're here. That's the purpose of the flagship show, to make sure that we all work together and pick up these nuggets, this knowledge, and we take it into 2023. So thank you very much for being here today. But we're not done. Unlock the Middle is not done, because this Tuesday will be our last show for office hours.
That's right.
What time, Dean Packard?
9 p.m. sharp. Ring the bell.
All right.
Office hours.
Oh, you mean 8 o'clock? Do I do that to you all the time on purpose? I love testing him.
Oh my goodness. 8 o'clock.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join in with Josh Tovar and Dean Packard for office hours for 20 minutes of hardcore educational discussion.
Exactly. So join us on Tuesday. Thank you very much for being here tonight. You really started us up. For those of you that are still in the classroom starting Monday, blessings to you. Keep it going. Keep that candle burning, because you know what? That's what our kids need. You on fire. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Y'all have a great night.
Keep seeing you.
All right.
Stay on, Vincent, if you could for a second, please.
Okay.